Welcome back to KangBrosTV. Just wanted to do a review of the test series that's just been completed with India and England in India, which has now concluded, and India are into the final of the World Test Championships. Some very, very interesting things to discuss. I was tempted to do ones after each test match, but I wanted to see how the series unfolded and just cover the points as a whole. Because there's a few things that you can blanket across, but there's some things that I'd wanted to get off my chest because I didn't think it was quite right. So first test, Joe Root, unbelievable. England, it was happy days. 200, you got Joe Root double 100. India were a shambles, blown away, and everyone was like, right, hold on a minute, something different. You know, this is gonna be something different. Then you get India beating. Then India end up winning this 3-1. Now, I want to go back to that first test straight away, and I want to talk about what the pundits and people had to say at that time. Brilliant. This is great. England are now showing that they can compete abroad. They've gone to Sri Lanka. They've gone and played this, and they've done that, and they're ready to play against these teams. Now, I just wanted to put it out there that Joe Root batted out of his skin, right? And there was signs that England were going to go there and do something special. At what point did you expect that these pitches were going to always stay that way? Yes, they're going to turn. You go to the subcontinent, they're going to turn. I've had people say to me, it's wrong to say that oh, these pitches are a shambles. The pitches are a shambles. Why? Why are the pitches a shambles? Because people can't win on them. Second test, India then go on and win it. Everyone's complaining about the wicket, complaining that it's terrible. The pitches are not good enough. Third test, oh, what a disgraceful pitch. It's a shambles pitches and all this sort of stuff. Ravi, I think I'm trying to figure out. Second test, Ravi Ashwin. Second or third test when Ashwin goes and gets a massive 100 in the second innings of a pitch that England deemed not good enough. Rohit Sharma got 160 on a pitch that was turning square, but Rohit Sharma's got 160. India have gone and got scores. Bowlers have got wickets. It comes down to the fact that, I'm sorry that it has to come to this, but if you come to England, it's going to be green and it's going to seam. It's going to seam around, and you're going to find it very hard to score runs. Fact. End of conversation. Now, but that's okay. Anderson will get a 5 for 6 for. Everyone's like, well, that's just another James Anderson masterclass. Well, that's just Anderson. That's just what he does. Another brilliant spell from Anderson. So, at what point are we going to turn around and flip that and say, yes, these spinners have bowled very well. The pitches have turned, but you've still got to get the people out. England have got spinners. England have a left arm spinner. England have an off spinner. They couldn't do the same things that Akshar Patel done and Ashwin did. So, what does that suggest? Does that suggest that the pitches are terrible, or people playing the conditions are not good enough? Some people say, yeah, but the pitches in England are very good. It's just overhead conditions. No, it's not. That's not the case. Because why are they green? Oh yeah, because then come day 4, day 5, when the sun hits it, I don't want to hear it. The home advantage is always going to be there. If you go to Australia, it's going to bounce. It's going to come through quick. If you go to India or Pakistan or Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, it's going to turn. It's very, very hot. You're not going to get the ability to have a grass all over the wicket and whatever. It doesn't happen. The overhead conditions would not allow that. Now, you've got to find a way to play against it, I'm afraid. You've got to find a way to play against those conditions. Yes, the spinning ball is tough. But if you actually look at it and say, right, the dismissals, modes of dismissal, no one's using the depth of their crease. No one's going right forward or going right back. They're getting caught on the crease. You're getting back pads, you're getting caught you're running down the wicket. Yes, if you want to use your feet and get to the pitch of the ball, fine. Be positive, but you have to accept that you're going to get some poor dismissals. Zach Crawley, for example, ran down the wicket and chipped out a couple of times. But as a batter, I'd look at that and say, do you know what? At least he's not sitting there waiting for one to have his name on it. Rohit Sharma, for example, got 160, the leading run scorer for the series, I believe, up there with Joe Root. But Joe Root got a double 100, which was phenomenal. But then the rest of those, he didn't contribute to the level that he needed to. So, as I said, you can moan about the pitches and wickets all you want, or you just get to grips with the fact that India were better than England. India were better than England over this course of the Test series. Yes, there were difficult pitches. Yes, I don't like to see Test matches finished in 2 days. But we've seen India get bowled out for 36 in Australia. No one said batted an eyelid. They just said that they batted poorly, and everyone agreed with that. You've seen India come here and get bowled out, come to England and get bowled out for 60. Or something like that. And everyone's like, well, they just played it poorly. You've seen India and New Zealand. It happened. India got absolutely bundled over in New Zealand. Pakistan have been bundled over in New Zealand when it swings. Pakistan have been bundled over here. Subcontinent teams, when they go and the ball swings, that's their techniques being flawed. But now you look at it and they can't play spin. And then it's like, well, because we're not used to that, so we shouldn't have to play that. No, I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. Those excuses are not acceptable, and people have to front up and say, India played spin better than England did. End of story. Their minds were frazzled by the fourth test. That wicket, the fourth test, for every person that complained about the third, talk to me about the fourth. The deck and the fourth test was perfect. They won the toss and they put 200 on the board in the first innings. There's nothing to do with the turning ball there, I'm afraid. That was a good deck. That's a good deck to bat on. And then India go in and post a score of 300 with Rishabh Pant playing an innings of an absolute masterclass of an innings, right, at the bottom of the end, paced his innings very well, and Sundar cashing in and getting 96 not out. Now, at what point are we going to turn around and be like, yes, okay, all the excuses that England made and talked about in the third test, fourth test, then what? Then where I want to hear the same consistency. It isn't there. The other thing I want to talk about is umpiring decisions. I thought the on-field umpiring was brilliant. The on-field umpiring was top draw. The use of DRS, shambles, absolute shambles. The England against Rahane in that test where they reviewed it off the back of the bat, didn't get given, and then they gave the review back. Rohit Sharma stumping. There's no excuses for that. There's no excuses. But what you can't disagree with is the on-field umpiring. It was brilliant. There was a couple of touch and go decisions even in the last test when the umpire on the field against India gave them out. Umpire's cool, but no one talks about that. Joe Root, a couple of LBWs that people were like, well, I can't even tell if it's out or not, whilst looking at the third umpires and DRS, but they gave the on-field umpire the decision correct. So for all the people that want to use umpiring as a problem, I think you've got to take stock of Bruce Oxenford in Australia-India series was a shambles. In the UK, in England, we've had poor umpiring performances. So they're only human. The DRS element, I agree with that. The DRS element was not good, and that needs to be improved big time because that is not acceptable. Because you've got the use of these facilities and technology available to you, and it's not good enough. The team selection for England was wrong. They've gone into a test match where playing at seamers in the pink ball test. They're playing seamers when the pitch turns. Then in the final test, they play extra. They play an extra batter and they play the off spinner again. And the pitch it was probably they were a seamer light. So the team selection was wrong. The rotation policy for England is not. Yes, I understand there needs to be rotation. I get that. People are not. They're human. They need to go home. There's bubbles and stuff like that. But how could you send Johnny Bairstow home after a brilliant series in Sri Lanka to then come back and him get he's got 3 ducks in this series since he's been back? You can't expect him to go away and come back, isolate and then play again. Moeen AlI, that situation was dealt with poorly, very poorly. Moeen AlI's been sent, they've discussed with him about going home, and the captain comes out and says, oh, he decided to go home. No, you lost faith in your spinner. That's a selection process. That's a selection problem. Why would you not play Amar Virdi? Can someone please tell me why the England setup decided not to play Amar Virdi or Mason Crane, for that example? Parkinson, I don't think he's ready to play out there. He bowls too many bad balls. But Bess, you've picked Bess. You've lost faith in him because he can't land it. The same thing happened in Sri Lanka. He couldn't land it. England played Dinia very poorly, left arm spinner in Sri Lanka as well. Those pitches turned a lot more. But because they won that series, no one batted an eyelid. But they played the left arm spinner poorly. Without Joe Root's runs, England would have struggled to win those test matches. They played Dinia very poorly. They also knew that Bess couldn't be trusted. Bess can't bowl a spell that is consistent. So if you know he can't bowl that spell and you know that's a problem, then yes, he's taken wickets, but they've come at a price. Leach has bowled brilliantly, giving you the control. Play Virdi. You've got nothing to lose. You've got absolutely nothing to lose. You don't trust the off spinner. Virdi's taken loads of wickets in the championship, and you've taken him with you. If you don't think he's good enough, don't take him with you. But obviously, you think there's a bowler in there. The opportunity presented itself, and they've gone with Bess. And as far as I'm concerned, Bess, in the last test match, not good enough. That's not good enough. He's bowling full tosses to Sundar and Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma's all the hard work Anderson done was undone with 5 full tosses because he goes, these guys aren't going to go 2s or 1s hit the sweeper. They're going 4-4-4, 6 maybe. That's how good these lot are. So I think people need to take a step back and understand that India were better than England. England selection poor. The batters, poor. The way they played and bowled spin was poor. They had moments in the game. The first test match, they got bowled out for 112 and then 80-second dig. They won the toss. They were 70 odd for 2. Or it was something, they'd lost not very many wickets and they'd got runs on the board. They should have capitalised. There were moments in the game where England could have capitalised. So I don't sit there and blame the pitches and say, oh, all of a sudden now it's gone from saying these pitches are unacceptable to, well, I was robbed of 3 days of cricket that I'd love to watch. Come on. That's excuses. We're all better than that. India have to come to England. India will come to England. As far as I'm concerned, will lose. They will lose in England because the swinging ball has always been the nemesis. Yes, they've got the bowlers that can bowl it now. I get that. But England batters, just like the situation with England, spin over for the England batsmen is hard. They can't do it. Just like a swinging ball against India it's not going to change. So until there's parity between that is when India come to England, the wickets are going to be green and it's going to swing. And Archer is going to be hooping it, Anderson's going to be hooping it, and Woakes is going to be hooping it. India will not have an answer for that. So the same thing is going to happen the other way. But you can't blame the pitchers because that's home advantage. It happens. It's going to happen. Yes, do I feel India are better equipped to be more cause problems and give a better account of themselves in England? Yes, I do think so. But I don't think that you're going to be looking at anything different than an England win at home. It's going to be the case. That's going to happen. The World Test Championships, Trent Boult, it's going to be hooping it round corners. Do I think India are going to win that? No, I don't, because the conditions will not suit India at all. Yes, they've gone to Australia and won, but that's why I also believe that you can't get too caught up in what you've seen at the moment, because India don't lose test matches at home very rare. They very rarely lose in India because they know how to play the conditions. Just like England will be the same here. Biggest question comes now with the Ashes. What happens in the Ashes? What's going to happen with England and Australia? Now that for me is a very evenly matched contest. Archer needs to get fit. And those batters, the Sibleys, Sibleys, Burns, Crawleys, they'll like it when it's coming through with a bit of pace. So they're very interested to see what happens. And this series is going to be forgotten if they win the Ashes. And fact, if England win the Ashes, this series is forgotten about. But they've got to understand that if they want these, to do well in these countries, they need to change the format in England. Somerset produced turning wickets. Leach bowled on those wickets and bowled really well and took a lot of wickets. What was the result of that? Somerset were fined. Somerset were fined for having terrible pitches. No, don't fine them. Just learn to acclimatise and say, right, okay, when you go to Somerset, it's going to turn. When you play at the Ageas Bowl, it's going to swing. When you play at the Oval, it's flat. Try and replicate what you're going to face in different countries. Another point I heard from Atherton was having outgrounds. Play at outgrounds. Play at Uxbridge. Middlesex play at Uxbridge. Play at Uxbridge. Play at Richmond. Play at Scarborough. Because those wickets are club grounds and they will deteriorate and they will turn. So you have to find a way. You get all the Aussies that come over here or Saffers that come to England to play in the county cricket. Get more Indians over. Bowl at them more often. Labuschagne played in England and scored bucket full of runs. So as far as I'm concerned, I think England players have to go and travel and play more cricket in India. You can have all the A tours and camps, but it's nothing like facing the proper bowlers or those types of players on a more frequent basis. I just wanted to do the video and say yes, there was certain points in this series that I felt that England failed to take the initiative. I think Zach Crawley is going to be a brilliant player. I think Pope's really struggled, but he will be a good player. Lawrence is probably the find of the tour for me from an England perspective. I think he's brilliant. I think the way he takes spin on and the way he plays spin, I've not seen that in an England player for a long time. From a bowling perspective, Anderson is the GOAT. But from the spinners, I'm shocked that England haven't played Virdi. Then why take him? He's taken wickets in the county championship. He's done well on the A tours. You're in a game where you can't trust the off spinner. Play him, chuck him in. You've got nothing to lose. So for me, I think England need to kind of break the mindset of, right, okay, they've got to go through all these levels of tests before they can play the test match. If he's ready, Axar Patel's come in. He's played less first-class cricket than Bess, for example. He's played less international test cricket. First-class and test cricket, Don Bess has played more than Axar Patel. So he's not a rookie anymore. So if he can't land it and you've lost faith, he's got to come out of the team. Don't sugarcoat it. It is what it is. He's now an experienced enough cricketer to know that this isn't right. This isn't good enough. Give Amar Virdi a go. He's done everything that has been asked of him and he hasn't played. So as far as I'm concerned, England have themselves to blame. The blaming of wickets isn't going to run for me. I think that's not acceptable. Umpiring decisions, yes, there was a few things in there that were, that you could argue weren't great, but umpiring decisions hasn't lost you this series. England haven't lost a series on umpiring decisions. It's their inability to play spin, its inability to bowl spin, and not being able to take those moments that they'd set themselves up for to go and win test matches, especially once they've won the toss. So that's my take on the series. I think India were brilliant. I think India can go on to be a powerhouse in test cricket now. But I do believe that to do that, they have to find out how to play in South Africa, New Zealand and England where it swings. The swinging ball is the problem and will always be the Achilles heel. Do I believe that they're closer to bridging that gap? Yes. Do I think they're there? No. So until they can do that, the question will still be there. So let me know your thoughts. Do people think I'm being harsh on England to write them off for the reasons that I have? Are India the real deal? Are they going to go to England and beat them? And also, what's your thoughts on the England spin situation? Should they have wickets and county grounds that encourage spinners to bowl and turn more? Or do they need to start playing more on out grounds where it's naturally going to turn more and acclimatise to playing spin bowling if they want to win on the subcontinent? And what do people think will be the outcome of the Ashes? So thanks for tuning in. I really look forward to hearing people's thoughts on the points made, and I look forward to the comments. So please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts. Peace.